So, I'd be willing to bet that charities here in Canada and our nonprofit sector in Canada is a lot bigger and a lot more powerful than you probably know. We have the second largest nonprofit sector in the entire world. We follow only the Netherlands. The United States is fifth. 11% of our economically active population here in Canada is working in the nonprofit sector. I think that's amazing. A little over 1 in 10 working Canadians working for a nonprofit. It's fantastic. Now, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point that our charities are so large and so powerful, that their brands are often as recognizable and as ubiquitous as many of their multi-million-dollar corporate counterparts? I believe that the answer is very simple. So simple, in fact, it was taught to me by a 3-year-old girl named Lovis. Lovis was born in White Rock, Nova Scotia. It's a little southwest of Wolfville, which is basically the northwestern coast of the province. She's your typical 3-year-old girl, and you could count all of the reasons why on one hand. She loves the color pink, ponies, cuddling. She loves her favorite stuffed animal, which is a monkey named Snuffy. On the other hand, you can count all of the things that make her a great maritimer as well. She loves the sea. She's patient. She has strong family values, a great smile, and she has this strange obsession with pirates. And my path first crossed with Lovis in September of 2009 when this picture came across my desk. It came across my desk because Lovis's mother, Stephanie, and her father, Jorg, they had reached out to the Children's Wish Foundation of Canada because Lovis had a wish. She had been diagnosed with DIPG, which is a rare form of brain cancer. And knowing that time was in short supply, that's exactly what she wished for. She wished for time to create memories with her family in the short amount of time that they had left. So, what the Children's Wish Foundation did is they sprung into action as they do. They rented a private cottage on the ocean for the entire family. And they stuffed that cottage with more princess dresses and costumes than any 3-year-old girl could try on in a year. And they stuffed it with arts and crafts projects, which was one of Lovis's favorite things to do. When the family was out on a private cruise one morning, they came back to find an entire petting zoo had been set up in the front lawn of the cottage just for her and her family and grandparents and her sister to enjoy and take pictures and create those memories. One day they even had a private tea party which was themed Princesses and Pirates. Now, my role in this story is about as minor roles could possibly go. What I needed to do was I needed to help the Children's Wish Foundation of Canada tell Lovis's amazing story to their amazing supporters all across Canada. And we needed to do that as quick as we could. So we did. November of 2009, we told Lovis's story to the amazing supporters, and the support came pouring back in. It was absolutely amazing. Now, this brings me back to this one thing. The one thing that Lovis taught me, the one thing that I believe has helped build our nonprofit sector to what it is today. I believe that it's stories, plain and simple. It's the names and the faces. It's the details, the emotion embedded in those stories. It's the ability for those stories to stick inside of our brains and to live inside of our hearts. Now, for the last 50 years or so, I believe that storytelling has been the bread and butter of our nonprofit sector, that it's bringing all of that massive support in by telling great stories about single people like Lovis that has helped build our sector to what it is today. Many people argue that accountability and transparency are key determining factors for who will open our wallet to and why. And while they may say that, that's not always what they do. What will be the deal breaker each and every time, I believe, is a great story. Now, for the last 50 years or so, we've been telling our stories in a very distinct, finite number of ways. First, there was face-to-face, presentations in churches, community halls, around kitchen tables. Next, we had direct mail. The stories were delivered right to your doorstep. Not long after, television and telephone. These stories came right into your living room. But in recent years, technology has begun to permeate charities in the same way that it's weaved its way into our everyday lives. And what that's doing is it's creating somewhat of a line in the sand, wherein charities can, on one side of the line, they can tell their stories in such a way that the emotional impact and the human element of their stories is going to be multiplied and magnified as the channels multiply and magnify. Or, if charities choose to stand on the other side of the line, and they take a back seat to the technology, then what's going to happen is that human element is going to be divided, and it will be diminished, and they will ultimately be losing support and could potentially fade into obscurity. It's a scary thought. Now, in about the same time that Lovis was having her wish, November 2009, Danny Brown gave a great TED Talk, TEDx Ottawa, and I need to give him credit because we overlap a bit in what our content is. What he was saying is that we can't abandon this strong tradition of storytelling that has brought us to this point in favor of the latest, greatest, new, shiny technology. He used Star Wars as his analogy. And to basically paraphrase, he said that the first trilogy was so successful, and it was what it was because there were universal themes of love, family, destiny that we could all relate to. And then the new trilogy came along, and technology was brought to the forefront, and it was more cold and impersonal. So basically, he was saying, don't give up the love story for Jar Jar Binks. Now, I need to tell you now about a celebration. On January 9th, 2010, at the Wolfville Baptist Church, which is at the corner of Main and Highland, there was a celebration. People were dressed in pink. Everyone wore at least one pink. Even the minister wore a pink necktie. There were pink streamers. Pink candles had been lit. Pink balloons were stuck up in the ceiling, and the kids who let them go. It was a celebration of Lovis's life because on December 20th, 2009, we lost Lovis. And it's details like her favorite color, pink, that we have to remember and that we need to communicate. Now, what's important to remember is that technology fundamentally does not have a name. It does not have a face. It does not have a favorite color. Technology is fundamentally ones and zeros, and there's probably someone in here who knows binary. This is the first minute of my speech. It's our job as the caretakers of the stories to inject the human element into every single nook and cranny. Because, as I said, we've been telling our stories in a finite number of channels for the last 50 years or so. And as I said, those who can magnify the human element across the channels are going to succeed. And they're going to see amazing success, and they're going to see it amazingly quickly. Because that's the nature of technology. Donations can be processed faster, and they're going to see growth faster than any charity has likely ever seen growth in the past 50 years. And if I can throw one more wrench into the works here, it's that these new charities may not be charities at all. They could be businesses, because businesses are quick and adaptable, and they're catching on, and they're telling their stories as well as the nonprofit sector is telling their stories. For example, Tom's Shoes. What they do is buy one pair of shoes for a child in a third world country that needs them and has probably never owned one before for every pair of shoes that you buy here. It's one for one, and it's a win-win situation. And it's an amazing story. Kiva, founded in 2006, is a microfinance platform which grants microloans to entrepreneurs in third world countries to help alleviate poverty. Since 2006, they've helped facilitate $213 million in loans, and that number is still only skyrocketing as we go. This is Charity Water. Founded in 2006, they've raised approximately $10 million in the past year and are growing. This is Right to Play, founded in 2004, and it raised nearly $35 million in revenue last year. And the Movember Foundation, which in Canada designates all of its funds to prostate cancer research, its goal this year was to raise $10 million, and in fact, it raised $22.5 million. It's amazing. And now, what's important about all this is that unless you're in elementary school right now, which it doesn't look like there are any, then you didn't grow up hearing about Charity Water, Right to Play, Kiva, Tom's Shoes, or Movember. But ladies and gentlemen, these could very potentially be, or charities like them, the charities of choice of the next generation. If there are charities, the Stoic, the big charities that our parents grew up supporting, if they can't tell their stories as efficiently and as effectively as these charities are, they could fade into obscurity. And it's a powerful thought that the charities our parents supported and our grandparents supported will not be the charities that we support and our children support. So this may sound like I'm going to get a little off topic, but what's important for me to communicate to you, because you might be thinking, I'm not a charity worker, I don't work for a charity. What's important is that we have to remember that we will be the ones supporting these charities, and we will be supporting our nonprofit sector into the future. And so we need to know how to do that, and we need to learn from the traditions of the past that have brought us to this point. Now, I'm going to leave you with a couple key points, because I feel they're really important. I'm not trying to say that technology is not important and that you shouldn't be using everything you have at your fingertips. What I want to say is that use every tool at your fingertips. Use every tool as long as what you're building is a strong, powerful story. And that names and faces are what are remembered. An avatar is not a face. A profile picture is not a face. This is a face. And it's faces like this and details like this that are worth remembering. Thanks for listening, everybody.